They are the first songs we ever learn, gentle, comforting, the background music to our innocence. But this is a lie. The rhymes in this book were not meant to soothe. They were meant to warn. They are gravestones, tiny coded messages smuggling stories of terror across centuries. Tonight, we unearth the horrifying true stories hidden within our most innocent nursery rhymes. We will discover that Around the Rosie is not a song about flowers, but a 4-step guide to dying from the Black Plague. We will learn that the riddle of Mary, quite contrary, is a secret history of a fanatical queen's torture chamber. And we will confront the grim, pagan ritual behind London Bridge is Falling Down, a legend that demanded a sacrifice of flesh and bone to hold the stones in place. This is the history hidden in the mouths of children. Let's begin. Our story begins in the year 1665. We are in London. But this is not the grand London of kings and queens, of palaces and cathedrals. Our world is a small, timber-framed house on a narrow, winding street, where the upper floors lean so closely together they seem to be whispering secrets to one another, blocking out the sun. This is the home of a tailor named Thomas. He is a simple man, quiet and hard-working. His world is the feel of linen and wool under his fingers, the sharp snip of his shears, and the steady rhythm of his needle. His happiness is a simple thing too. It is the warmth of the fire at the end of the day. It is the taste of the warm bread his wife Eleanor bakes in their small oven. And most of all, it is the sound of his 7-year-old daughter's laughter. Her name is Rose. She is a child of sunlight and song. Her hair the color of straw, her eyes full of a fierce, bright life. For her, the world is a place of endless wonder. It is the feel of a smooth stone from the riverbank, the taste of a wild strawberry, the joy of chasing a butterfly in their small back garden. Her parents, Thomas and Eleanor, look at her and see the whole world. She is their heart, living and breathing outside of their own bodies. Their home is a fortress against the city, a small island of warmth and safety. But beyond their locked door, a shadow is falling over London. At first, it is just a whisper, a rumor carried on the stale air. A sickness has come to the city, arriving on ships from across the sea. It is a fever, they say, a weakness that takes hold of the body. People are disappearing behind their own doors. Thomas tells his family not to worry. He is a practical man. He believes in solid things, wood, stone, a well-latched door. He locks their door each night and tells them they will be safe inside. The monster is outside, in the street. It cannot reach them here. Eleanor wants to believe him, but she listens to the sounds of the city, and the sounds are changing. The cheerful noise of commerce, of carts and street sellers, is being replaced by a new sound, the slow, lonely tolling of a church bell, which seems to ring all day and all night. And then there is the silence. The house across the street, home to a family with 3 loud boys, has been silent for 2 days. One morning, Eleanor peers through a crack in the shutters and sees it. A man with a bucket of red paint is drawing a large cross on their neighbor's door, the mark of the plague. She feels a cold dread, a feeling like a shard of ice in her stomach. But she says nothing to Thomas. She keeps the fear locked away in her own heart. She holds Rose a little tighter. She scrubbed the floors a little harder. She prays a little longer. One morning, a week later, Eleanor is helping little Rose get dressed for the day. The morning sun is a pale, watery light coming through the small window. Rose is chattering happily about a dream she had, a dream about a bird that could sing her name. Eleanor smiles. her fingers working the simple buttons of her daughter's dress. And then she sees it. On the soft, pale skin of her daughter's arm, just above the elbow, is a small red circle. It is no bigger than a coin. It looks like an insect bite, perhaps, or a simple rash. But it is too perfectly round, and the color is wrong. It is a bright, angry, rosy red. And around the edge, she can almost see a faint, darker ring. Time stops. The sounds of the city fade away. The only sound in the world is the frantic, panicked beating of Eleanor's own heart. She stares at the mark. Her mind screams, "No, it cannot be. It is just a rash, a spot. It means nothing." But she has heard the whispers from the other women at the market. She knows what this is. This is the first sign, the token, the Rosie. Ring around the Rosie. The song is not a child's game. It is this single, terrifying, perfect circle on her daughter's skin. The brand of the plague. The quiet announcement that the monster is no longer outside in the street. The monster is here, in this room. It is in her house. It is on her child. Eleanor's breath catches in her throat. Her first instinct is not to scream or to cry or to run. Her first instinct is to hide. She pulls the sleeve of Rose's dress down, covering the mark. She finishes the last button with trembling fingers. "There you are, my love," she says, and her own voice sounds strange to her, a hollow echo from far away. All dressed. Rose, in her innocence, notices nothing. She smiles up at her mother and runs off to play with her wooden doll. Eleanor stands alone in the quiet room, her body frozen, her mind a whirlwind of terror. She has a secret now, a terrible, heavy secret that she must carry alone. For to tell her husband is to make it real. To speak its name is to invite the watchman, the Red Cross, the end of everything. And so she says nothing. She tells herself it will fade. It will disappear. She will fight it. She will protect her family. But as she looks at the locked door of their small, safe home, she understands the truth. The door was meant to keep the monster out. But she now knows, with a certainty that chills her to the bone, that she has locked the monster in with them. The days that follow are a special kind of hell. A silent, secret hell lived within the four walls of their small home. Eleanor's world, once measured by the rising of the sun and the setting of the moon, is now measured by the steady, shallow breaths of her sleeping daughter. Time itself has become a thick, suffocating blanket. Every moment is a performance. She smiles for Thomas. She sings for Rose. She kneads the dough for the bread. Her movements automatic. Her mind 1,000 miles away, lost in a storm of fear. Her love for her family, once a source of strength, has now become a tool of deception. Every morning, when Thomas prepares to leave for his tailor's workshop, she feels a twisting in her gut. He kisses her goodbye, his face full of a calm trust that feels like a hot poker against her skin. He looks at her, his brow furrowed with concern. "You are quiet, Eleanor," he says one morning, his hand on her cheek. "You look as if you have not slept in a week. Is there something troubling you?" She looks into his kind, unknowing eyes, and the lie comes easily to her lips, a bitter, familiar taste. "It is just the city, Thomas. The bells. They trouble my sleep." He nods, his expression full of sympathy. "I know, my love, but we are safe in here. The door is strong. God will protect us." She wants to scream the truth at him. The door does not matter. The monster is already here. But she cannot. To speak the truth is to surrender. To speak the truth is to bring the man with the red paint to their door. So she forces a small, weak smile and says, "Yes, my love, God will protect us." The lie is a stone in her throat. She watches him walk down the street, and she feels as if she has just sent an innocent man into a lion's den. Her life becomes a series of frantic, hidden rituals. Her most important ritual is watching her daughter. She watches Rose with the intensity of a hawk, searching for any change, any sign. She sees the subtle lethargy that is beginning to creep into the girl's movements. The way Rose, who once ran through the house with endless energy, now prefers to sit quietly in a corner with her wooden doll. The way her bright, sunny laughter is becoming a softer, more tired sound. The world outside the window conspires with her fear. The city is getting quieter. The usual sounds of life, the shouts of children playing, the songs of merchants selling their wares, the friendly gossip between neighbors, have vanished. The silence that has replaced them is a dead, heavy thing, broken only by the sound that now haunts Eleanor's dreams. The slow, lonely tolling of a church bell, a sound that no longer calls the faithful to prayer, but simply counts the dead. One afternoon, she risks a look through a crack in the shutters. She sees the death cart making its rounds in the daylight now, a thing of horrifying necessity. It is a simple open cart, pulled by a tired old horse. Two men, their faces wrapped in cloth, walk beside it, their voices hollow as they call out their terrible refrain, "Bring out your dead." She watches as a door opens down the street. A man, his face a mask of grey, emotionless grief, carries out a small bundle wrapped in a white sheet. He places it gently into the cart with the others. The bundle is no bigger than his own daughter, Rose. Eleanor feels a wave of nausea and stumbles back from the window, her heart pounding in her chest. She cannot breathe. The air in her own home, her safe fortress, suddenly feels thick and poisoned. And it is this feeling, this suffocating certainty, that the air itself is the enemy, that drives her to her own desperate defense. She cannot fight the disease. She cannot fight the red cross on the door, so she will fight the air. A pocketful of posies. It is an old belief, a whisper from her grandmother. A bad air must be fought with a good air. A poison must be fought with a perfume. And so Eleanor clings to this idea. It is the only weapon she has. It is the only hope she can create with her own two hands. She goes to the small patch of earth behind their house that she calls her garden. It is a place of life, a defiant patch of green in the grey, dying city. Her hands, usually so steady and sure as they work a needle and thread, now tremble as she gathers her arsenal. She plucks leaves of mint, their sharp, clean scent, a small shock of clarity in the stale air. She cuts sprigs of rosemary, crushing a leaf between her fingers, its pine-like fragrance a memory of a healthier, happier world. She gathers handfuls of dried lavender, its purple flowers holding the scent of a summer that feels a lifetime away. These are her weapons, her posies. She carries her fragrant treasures back into the dark kitchen as if she is carrying a chest of gold. She spreads them on the table, and she begins to work with a frantic, focused energy she has not felt in weeks. She takes scraps of clean linen, cuts them into squares, and begins to sew small bags. Her needle flies, a tiny silver sword in her hand. Stitch by stitch, she creates her charms, her talismans. It is a ritual of hope. With every stitch, she whispers a prayer, a desperate bargain with a god who seems to have abandoned her city. If I do this, keep her safe. If I make this perfect, keep us safe. She fills each small bag with her mixture of herbs. The air in the kitchen fills with their powerful, clean scents, a beautiful, heartbreaking perfume that battles against the smell of fear and sickness. When she is done, she has a small army of them. A pocketful of hope. She hangs one over the main doorway, a fragrant guardian to block the poison at the threshold. She hangs another over the window, a filter for the dangerous light. She places one in the cupboard where they keep the bread. She slips one under Rose's pillow as she sleeps, hoping the clean scent will purify her daughter's dreams. chasing away the feverish nightmares. Each morning, her ritual with Thomas becomes more desperate. As she slips the small bag of herbs into his coat pocket, she holds onto his hand for a moment too long. He sees the fear in her eyes, but he mistakes it for love. He smiles, kisses her forehead, and walks out into the dying city, protected only by a handful of dried flowers. For a few days, this ritual is the only thing that keeps Eleanor from falling into despair. It is something to do. It is an action, a fight. She has declared war on the invisible enemy, and in the moments after she has refreshed the herbs, when the house is filled with their strong, clean scent, she allows herself to believe it is working. She watches Rose, and if her daughter has a moment of energy, if she laughs at a story, if she asks for a second piece of bread, Eleanor's heart leaps with a wild, treacherous hope. It is working, she thinks. The fever is breaking. The herbs are winning. She clings to these small moments, these slivers of normalcy, like a starving woman clings to a crumb of bread. But the hope is a lie. A beautiful, sweet-smelling lie she tells herself to survive the terror of her own helplessness. It is a fragile dream that is shattered every single night. Every night after Thomas is asleep, after the house is cloaked in a tense silence, Eleanor performs her true ritual, the ritual of despair. She creeps to her daughter's bedside, her heart a cold, heavy stone in her chest. She takes the candle, its flickering flame casting long, dancing shadows on the wall. And with a hand that she has to force to be steady, she lifts the sleeve of Rose's nightgown. And she looks at the mark. She stares at it, her eyes tracing the rosy ring, praying to see that it has faded, that it has shrunk, that it was all a terrible dream. But the mark does not fade. It is a stubborn, silent sentinel, a quiet promise of the horror to come. One evening, as the last of the weak sun fades from the sky, she looks again. The candle flame trembles in her hand. She pulls back the sleeve, and a gasp escapes her lips, a small, choked sound of pure animal terror. The rosy ring on her daughter's arm has not faded. It has not stayed the same. It has grown darker. The edges are a deeper, angrier red, almost purple. Her wall of perfume has been breached. Her fortress has fallen. Her prayers have gone unanswered. The monster is not just stirring, it is growing stronger, and Eleanor has a terrifying, soul-crushing certainty that she has just run out of time. The darkening of the mark on Rose's arm is a point of no return. The small, fragile hope that Eleanor had been nurturing with her herbs and her prayers withers and dies. The monster she has been fighting in secret is now growing bolder, and she can feel its cold presence in every corner of their home. Her performance of normalcy begins to fray at the edges. Her hands tremble when she serves the evening meal. Her smile is a thin, brittle thing that does not reach her eyes. Thomas sees it all. He is a quiet man, but he is not blind. He sees the way his wife's gaze is always fixed on their daughter, a look of desperate, painful intensity. He sees the way she startles at every small sound from the street. He sees the new dark shadows under her eyes. He knows this is more than a simple fear of the sickness in the city. This is something sharper, something closer. One evening, as she is staring into the fire, her mending forgotten in her lap, he comes to her side. He puts his hand on her shoulder, a gesture that once would have brought her comfort, but now makes her flinch. "Eleanor," he says, his voice low and gentle, "you must tell me what is wrong. You are carrying a burden that is too heavy for one person. Let me help you bear it." She looks up at him, her eyes wide with a terror he does not understand. The truth is on the tip of her tongue. She wants to tell him everything. She wants to collapse into his arms and share the terrible weight of her secret. But the words will not come. Fear is a gag in her mouth. She knows that the moment she speaks the truth, their life, their small, fragile world will end. The watchman will come. The Red Cross will appear. To speak the truth is to summon the executioner. So she shakes her head, pulling away from his touch. It is nothing, Thomas. I am just tired. The lie is weak, pathetic, but it is all she has left. Thomas looks at her, his heart aching with a confusion and a helplessness he cannot name. He knows she is lying, but he does not know why. A wall of her own making now stands between them, and he does not know how to break it down. He retreats into a hurt, worried silence. The house is no longer filled with just Eleanor's secret terror. It is now filled with the cold, heavy weight of unspoken things. And then, the moment that will break the silence and shatter their world arrives. It happens in the deep of the night. A sudden, racking cough from Rose's bed wakes them both from a restless sleep. It is a sound they have not heard before, a deep, wet, ugly sound. Eleanor is at her daughter's side in an instant, a cool cloth in her hand. Rose is burning with fever, her small body shivering violently, her eyes wide with a delirious, unseeing fear. And then comes the sound that seals their fate. A sound that tears through the quiet room like a bolt of lightning. A sharp, violent, rattling explosion of air that seems to shake her small frame. Ah, tissue! It is not the sneeze of a common cold. It is a dry, hacking, unnatural sound. It is followed by another, and another, each one a desperate, convulsive attempt by her body to expel the poison within. Thomas, standing frozen at the foot of the bed, stares at his daughter, and in the dim candlelight, as Rose's small body is racked by another cough, her nightgown sleeve falls away from her arm, and he sees it, the mark, the rosy ring. It is no longer just dark, it is a deep, angry purple, swollen and ugly, a brand of death. He looks from the horrifying mark on his daughter's arm to the terrified, tear-streaked face of his wife. And in that single, soul-crushing moment, he understands everything. He understands her silence. He understands her fear. He understands the secret she has been carrying alone for so long. And his own world, the world of logic and reason and strong locked doors, turns to dust and ashes. He opens his mouth to speak, but no words come out. There is nothing to say. There is only the sound of his daughter's labored breathing and the sound of his own heart breaking. They do not have to wait long. The sneezing fits are a proclamation, an announcement to the entire street. They have been heard. A heavy, authoritative knock comes at the door. Boom! 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 It is the sound of the world ending. Thomas and Eleanor look at each other, a shared, silent understanding passing between them. There is no more hiding. There is no more pretending. It is over. The knock comes again, louder this time, more impatient. "Open in the name of the parish constable!" A voice shouts from the street, a voice devoid of all human warmth, with feet that feel like they are made of lead. As if he is walking through deep water, Thomas goes to the door. He does not know why he bothers to unbolt it. It is a final, pointless act of obedience. Standing on their doorstep are two men. One is the parish watchman, a large, grim-faced man, holding a lantern that casts long, dancing shadows. His face is impassive, a mask of weary duty. He has seen this scene 100 times before, and he will see it 100 times again. The other man holds a bucket of red paint and a long-handled brush. The watchman does not need to ask any questions. He can hear the child's weak, rattling cough from inside. He looks past Thomas, to the small, shivering form of Rose in the bed. His gaze is cold and clinical. He is not looking at a child. He is looking at a symptom, a problem to be contained. He gives a curt nod to the other man. Eleanor watches, numb with a horror that is beyond tears, as the man dips the brush into the bucket. The paint is a shocking, vibrant red, the colour of fresh blood. He slaps the brush against their door, painting a large, crude, dripping red cross. The sound is wet and obscene. Then, beneath it, with a chilling neatness, he writes the words that will be their epitaph. Lord, have mercy upon us. The watchman turns to Thomas. You are to remain within this house, he says, his voice flat and official. No one is to enter, no one is to leave. Food will be left on your doorstep once a day. God be with you. And with that, they turn and walk away. A third man comes forward with a hammer and heavy iron nails, and with a series of loud, final echoing blows, he bars the door from the outside. Bang! 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 Each nail is a coffin nail. Each blow is a judgment. The world outside, the world of the living, is gone forever. They are sealed in, the three of them, alone with the monster that is now free to do its work. The hours that follow are a long, slow, agonizing descent into a quiet, heartbreaking hell. The air in the small house grows stale and heavy, thick with the smell of sickness and despair. The light from the single grimy window becomes their only clock, its slow progress across the floor, marking the passage of a day they no longer have any part in. There are no more rituals. There are no more prayers. There is only the grim, sacred duty of watching their child leave them. They do not speak of the future. They do not speak of their own inevitable fate. They speak only of Rose. They sit on either side of her bed, holding her small, hot hands. Thomas, his hands usually so strong and capable, now feels clumsy and useless. He tries to carve a small wooden bird for her from a scrap of wood, but his hands tremble so much he can barely hold the knife. Eleanor tells Rose the story she has always loved most, the story of the day she was born. She describes the first time she held her, the feel of her tiny fingers wrapped around her own. She speaks of her first smile, her first word, her first wobbly steps. She is trying to rebuild her daughter's life with words, trying to hold on to the memories, even as the reality slips through her fingers like sand. Rose's breath becomes a shallow, rattling whisper. The fire of the fever consumes the last of her small strength. Her eyes, which had been wide with a delirious fear, now close. And then, in the deep, dark quiet of the night, the rattling sound stops. The small chest, which had been fighting so hard, is still. The silence she leaves behind is a physical thing, a crushing weight that presses down on her parents. A silence so profound it is louder than any scream. Their Rose, their sunlight, their entire world is gone. We all fall down. Thomas and Eleanor do not fall in a playground game. They fall to their knees on the cold stone floor beside the bed of their dead child. They fall into a grief so absolute, so empty, that it hollows them out, leaving nothing behind but a raw, aching void. They do not weep. They are beyond tears. They are simply two ghosts in a tomb, waiting for their own turn to be carried out into the night. They fall down, surrounded by the useless, fragrant scent of the herbs that could not save them. They fall down, and they do not get back up. This is the story hidden in the rhyme. A story of a city where death was so common, people made a game of it to stay sane. A terror of nature, a monster without a mind, that killed without reason and without malice. It was a horror of the natural world, a storm that passed, leaving a devastating silence in its wake. But what happens when the monster is not a disease? What happens when the monster wears a crown? What happens when the terror is meticulously planned and carried out in the name of God? We will find the answer in our next rhyme. Our next story is not a story of sickness. It is a story of faith, a faith so strong, so unbending, that it would drown a kingdom in blood. It is a story hidden in a question, in a simple rhyme asked to a mysterious woman named Mary. Mary, Mary, quite contrary, how does your garden grow? Who is this Mary? And why is she so contrary, so stubborn and difficult? To find the answer, we must travel back another 100 years to the 1550s. We are in England, a kingdom in the grip of a cold, quiet, and deeply paranoid war. It is a war of ideas, a war for the very soul of the nation. And the Mary of our rhyme is no simple gardener. She is the Queen. History knows her by another name, Bloody Mary. To understand the monster she would become, we must first meet the child she was. And that child's story is a fairy tale that turned into a nightmare. She was born a princess, Mary Tudor, the first child of the great King Henry VIII and his beloved wife, the Spanish princess, Catherine of Aragon. For the first years of her life, her world was a paradise. Imagine a child who has never known anything but adoration. She was the jewel of the English court, a brilliant and precocious girl who could play music for foreign ambassadors and charm the most stern-faced of her father's counselors. The king, a man of immense appetites and passions, doted on her. He called her the pearl of his kingdom. He would lift her onto his lap in the great hall, the rough velvet of his doublet against her cheek, and declare to the entire world that this clever, serious little girl was the future of England. She was his heir. Her future was as bright and as certain as the sun in the sky. But her father, the king, had a shadow in his heart, a deep and desperate need that would eventually consume everything it touched. He needed a son, a male heir to secure his dynasty, and Queen Catherine, after many difficult pregnancies, could not give him one. As the years passed, the king's love for his loyal wife began to curdle into resentment. His gaze, once so full of affection for Mary, now carried a flicker of disappointment. She was perfect, but she was not a boy. And then, his eyes turned to a younger, more exciting woman at court. A woman with eyes as dark and as sharp as a raven's. A woman named Anne Boleyn. Henry's desire for Anne and his obsession with having a son became a fire that would burn down his own world. He decided he must end his marriage to Catherine. He needed the Pope, the head of the Catholic Church in Rome, to declare that his marriage had never been valid in God's eyes. But the Pope, under pressure from Mary's powerful Spanish relatives, refused. And so King Henry VIII, a man who believed his will and God's will were the same thing, did the unthinkable. He took a torch to the very foundations of his kingdom. He declared war on the church that had ruled England for 1,000 years. He broke away from Rome, created a new church, the Church of England, and made himself its head. He was now his own pope, and his first act as the head of this new church was to grant himself the divorce he so desperately wanted. He divorced Mary's mother, casting her aside after more than 2 decades of loyal marriage. He married Anne Boleyn, and in that single act of personal desire, he took his daughter's life and shattered it into 1,000,000 pieces. Imagine this. You are 16 years old. You are a princess, the heir to the throne. Your entire identity is built on this single, unshakable fact. And overnight, you are told that it was all a lie. You are told that your father's marriage to your mother was a sin. You are told that you are no longer a princess, that you have no more right to the throne than a common serving girl. You are told that you are illegitimate, a bastard, a disgrace. Mary's world collapsed. She was stripped of her titles, her servants, her fine clothes. The jewels she had worn were taken from her and given to her father's new wife. She was banished from the royal court, a place that had been her entire world. And in the cruelest cut of all, she was forbidden from ever seeing her own mother again. Catherine was sent away to a remote, damp castle to live out her days in lonely, pious exile, while her daughter was left to fend for herself in a court that now saw her as an enemy. The new queen, Anne Boleyn, soon gave birth to a daughter, a baby girl named Elizabeth. And in a final crushing act of psychological warfare, Mary, the former Princess of Wales, was forced to become a servant in her infant half-sister's household. She, who had once had her own palace, was now expected to attend to the needs of the child who had replaced her. She was forced to watch as the court that once adored her now bowed and scraped before the cradle of her rival. She was a living ghost, a painful reminder of a past the king was desperate to erase. Her very existence was an act of defiance. Her father demanded that she sign a document, an oath, accepting his new church and admitting that her own mother's marriage was a sham. To sign would be to call her mother a liar and herself a bastard. It would be to betray everything she had ever known, but to refuse was treason. Her mother smuggled letters to her, letters written in secret, letters that burned with a defiant faith. "Obey your father in all things," Catherine wrote, "except for the matters of your soul." Mary clung to those words. She clung to her Catholic faith. It was no longer just a religion, it was her identity. It was her only connection to her mother. It was the only part of her old life that her father could not take from her, and so she refused. She defied the most powerful man in England. She lived for years as a political prisoner, in a state of constant fear, knowing that at any moment her stubbornness could lead her to the executioner's block. This is what forged her. The humiliation, the loss, the constant, grinding pressure. Her heart did not break, it hardened. Her spirit did not despair, it filled with a cold, righteous anger. She was contrary because the world had tried to destroy her, and she had refused to be destroyed. Years passed. The wheel of fortune turned. Her father died. Her sickly young half-brother, a devout Protestant, took the throne and died too. And then, against all odds, after a failed attempt by Protestant nobles to place another woman on the throne, the people of England rallied to her side. They saw her not as a religious fanatic, but as the true, legitimate heir of the old king. The unwanted heir, the forgotten daughter, rode into London in triumph. She was finally queen, but the woman who took the crown was not the happy, hopeful girl her father had once adored. She was a woman in her late 30s, scarred by years of trauma, her heart filled with a faith that had been sharpened into a weapon. And she came to the throne with a single, burning mission forged in the fires of her own suffering. She would avenge her mother. She would punish the kingdom that had betrayed her, and she would scour the land clean of the Protestant heresy that had ruined her life. She saw herself as a holy warrior, a divine instrument of God's own righteous anger. She was not a queen who would tend a garden of flowers. She was a gardener who had come to rip out the weeds, to burn them, and to purify the soil with their ashes. Her work was about to begin, and England, her garden, would soon grow red with blood. The Queen's mission began not with a grand battle, but with a quiet, creeping fear that seeped into the very cobblestones of London. To understand this fear, we must leave the cold, stone halls of the royal palace, and enter the warm, smoky air of a city alehouse. Our guide is no longer a queen. He's a man named John. John is a printer. His world is the smell of ink and oiled metal, the heavy clatter of the printing press, and the magic of seeing words appear on a clean white page. Under the reign of the last king, John was a proud man. He printed Bibles in English, a language the common people could understand. He printed pamphlets about the new Protestant faith, words of hope and change that felt like the dawn of a new age. His work was not just a job, it was a calling. But now, Queen Mary is on the throne. And John's workshop has become a place of secrets. His English Bibles are now forbidden books. His Protestant pamphlets are now acts of treason. He is a criminal, living in the shadows of his own city. The mood in London has changed. It is a city holding its breath. People no longer speak freely in the streets. Neighbours who once shared a friendly greeting now look at each other with a flicker of suspicion in their eyes. A careless word, a single complaint about the new queen could be reported. An informer could earn a few silver coins for a soul. Fear is a poison, and it is spreading faster than any plague. One evening, John is in a crowded alehouse, sitting in a dark corner, nursing a drink. He is there to listen. The alehouse is the heart of the city's whispers, the one place where news, both true and false, is traded like currency. Two men are talking nearby, their voices low, their heads close together. John leans in, trying to hear. They are not talking about the price of wool or the latest news from the docks. They are speaking a strange riddle. One man whispers to the other, "Mary, Mary, quite contrary, how does your garden grow?" The other man gives a short, bitter, joyless laugh. He looks around nervously before he answers. "With silver bells and cockleshells," he whispers back, "and pretty maids all in a row." John does not understand. It sounds like a child's rhyme, a piece of nonsense. But the way the men say it, the fear in their eyes, tells him this is no child's game. It is a secret, a code, a dangerous truth hidden in a simple song. He leaves the alehouse, the strange words echoing in his mind, a new and unsettling tune of fear. Over the next few weeks, John begins to understand the riddle. The Queen's gardening has begun. Her inquisitors, her hunters of heretics, are moving through the city. People are disappearing. A well-known Protestant preacher is taken from his home in the middle of the night. A merchant who had spoken out against the old church is arrested. Their crime is heresy, the belief in a different kind of God than the Queen. John hears the stories. He hears what happens to these people when they are taken to the dungeons of the Tower of London. And he begins to understand the first part of the riddle. With silver bells and cockleshells. These are not flowers. These are the whispers from the torture chamber. A friend of a friend, a guard at the tower, tells a story of the tools the Queen's men use to make the heretics confess. The silver bells, he learns, are thumbscrews. He pictures the scene in his mind with a horrifying clarity. A man's hands, perhaps the hands of the preacher he once knew, are placed inside the metal clamps. An inquisitor turns a screw. There is a terrible, crushing sound. A sound like a small, sharp bell ringing in the stone room as the bones in the man's thumbs begin to splinter and break. The inquisitors ask him to give up his faith. He refuses. Then they bring out the cockleshells. The whispers about these are even worse, spoken with a shudder. They are another kind of instrument, a different shape of pain, a different way to break a man's body to try and capture his soul. These are the tools of persuasion in the Queen's New England. These are the flowers in her garden of pain. John's own workshop now feels like a tomb. In the back room, hidden beneath a loose floorboard, are his own secret treasures. A stack of his forbidden English Bibles, a pile of the Protestant pamphlets he can no longer sell. Every night, he goes to them. He runs his hand over the printed words. These words had once felt like trumpets. proclaiming a new truth. Now they feel like gravestones, each letter a crime, each page a death sentence. He thinks about burning them. It would be the safe thing to do. It would be the smart thing to do. But he cannot. To burn these books would be to burn his own soul. It would be to surrender to the fear. It would be to let Mary win. And so he lives in a state of constant, gnawing terror. Every knock on the door makes his heart leap into his throat. Every time he sees one of the Queen's guards in the street, he feels their eyes on him. He trusts no one. The baker who sells him his bread, the man who sells him his ink. Could they be an informer? Could a single, careless word lead them to the secret under his floor? One day his worst fears come true. He learns that another printer, a man he knew, a friend from across the city, has been arrested. John feels a cold dread wash over him. He knows his friend. He knows he is a good man, but he also knows about the silver bells. He knows that any man, no matter how brave, can be broken. Under torture, his friend might give up other names. He might give up John's name. That night, John does not sleep. He sits in his dark, silent workshop, the smell of ink thick in the air. He sits and he waits. He waits for the heavy knock on the door. He waits for the Queen's men to come for him. He knows, with a chilling certainty, that it is only a matter of time before he, too, is brought to the Queen's terrible garden to be asked how he grows. John does not run. The fear is a cold knot in his stomach. But beneath the fear, something else is taking root. A grim, stubborn anger. He has spent his life printing words of faith, words that spoke of courage and truth. To flee now, to abandon his home and his press, feels like a betrayal of every word he has ever set in type. He will not run. He will bear witness. He spends his days in the shadows, listening. The news he has been dreading finally comes. His friend, the printer, has been condemned. He, along with a well-known preacher and a young woman, a weaver's apprentice, are to be executed for the crime of heresy. They are to be made an example of. They are to be burned. On the day of the execution, John feels a morbid, terrible pull. He has to go. He has to see it for himself. He has to understand the true nature of the Queen's garden. He wraps himself in a dark, simple cloak, pulling the hood low over his face. He joins the stream of people moving through the streets of London, a silent, grim river flowing towards the execution grounds at Smithfield. The air at Smithfield is thick and heavy, not with celebration, but with a tense, fearful silence. It is a huge open space, and a large crowd has already gathered, standing in a wide circle. They are not a bloodthirsty mob, eager for a spectacle. They are quiet, their faces a mixture of morbid curiosity, pity, and a deep, unspoken fear. They are here because they have been ordered to be here, to witness the Queen's justice, to learn the lesson she intends to teach. In the center of the square, the lesson is prepared. 3 heavy wooden posts are driven deep into the earth. They stand tall and dark against the grey London sky. A row. Around the base of each post are neat piles of dry wood and bundles of straw. It looks so neat, so organized. A tidy piece of business. A cart rumbles into the square. In it are the 3 condemned prisoners. John's heart pounds in his chest. He sees his friend, his face pale but calm. He sees the preacher, his eyes looking not at the crowd, but up at the sky. And he sees the young woman, the weaver's apprentice, who cannot be more than 20 years old. Her hands are bound, but her head is held high. They are the pretty maids. The rhyme echoes in John's mind, no longer a riddle, but a horrifying prophecy. This is the final line. This is the final harvest. The prisoners are led to the posts. A queen's official stands and reads their condemnation in a loud, clear voice. He speaks of their stubborn heresy, their refusal to accept God's true church, their treason against their queen. The words are meant to sound righteous and just, but in the heavy silence of the square, they sound hollow and cruel. As the executioners tie the prisoners to the posts, the preacher begins to speak. His voice is not loud, but it is clear and strong, and it carries across the silent crowd. He does not beg for mercy. He does not recant his faith. He prays. He prays for the Queen, asking God to open her eyes. He prays for the people of England, asking God to deliver them from this darkness. John feels a lump form in his throat. This is not a heretic. This is a man of a faith so profound it makes him fearless. The executioners bring forth their torches. The crowd gives a collective soft gasp. The flames are touched to the straw at the base of the posts. At first, there is only smoke. A thick, acrid smoke that billows up, momentarily hiding the victims from view. And then, with a hungry, crackling roar, the wood catches fire. John wants to look away. He wants to run, but he cannot. He is frozen in place, forced to watch. He sees the flames lick at the feet of the prisoners, then climb their legs. He sees the young woman throw her head back, her mouth open in a silent scream as the fire consumes her. He sees his friend, the printer, his body convulsing in an agony that is beyond all imagination. And then comes the smell. It is a smell that will haunt John for the rest of his days. It is not the clean smell of a wood fire. It is the sickeningly sweet, greasy smell of cooking meat. It is the smell of a human body being burned. The scent of the Queen's terrible harvest. The crowd is silent. There are no cheers. There are only the crackle of the flames, the quiet, muffled sobs of a few onlookers, and the terrible smell that fills the air. John stands there until it is over, until the flames die down, until the pretty maids are no longer people, but charred, blackened things, hanging from their posts in a final, horrifying row. He turns and walks away from Smithfield, pushing through the silent, leaving crowd. The rhyme is now complete in his mind. It is no longer a riddle. It is a recipe for how to create terror. Mary, the contrary queen, who wants her garden, her kingdom, to grow in a way it refuses to. She tends it with the silver bells and cockle shells of her torture chambers, and she fills it with the prettiest maids you will ever see, standing silent and blackened, all in a row. He returns to his workshop, the terrible smell still clinging to his clothes, to his hair, to his very soul. He is no longer just a man, afraid for his life. He is a man who has witnessed the true face of his queen's faith, and he knows, with a certainty that settles deep in his bones, that his work is not over. He will not burn his books. He will print more. He will not be silent. He will work in the shadows, and he will fight this darkness, one printed page at a time. The Queen's fire has not terrified him into submission. It has forged his defiance into a thing of hard, cold steel. And so the Garden of England was tended by a bloody queen. Her terror was born from a twisted faith, a human ideology that demanded blood. It was a horror with a purpose, however cruel, meant to purify the soul of a nation. But what if the terror is older than any church? What if it is a cold, Stone Age fear that demands a sacrifice, not of belief, but of flesh and bone, to hold up the very world we walk on? We will find the answer in our final rhyme. Our final story tonight begins not with a person, but with a place of stone and water, of commerce and chaos. We are in London once more, but an older, wilder London, a city that lives and breathes with the rhythm of the great River Thames. The Thames is the city's heart, its lifeblood, but it is not a gentle, tamed thing. It is a powerful, ancient god, its currents strong and its moods unpredictable. And for centuries, the people of London have tried to build a leash for this god, a stone collar across its neck. They call it London Bridge. The first stone bridge was a wonder of the world. It was not just a bridge. It was a street, a neighborhood, a city in itself, built upon 19 heavy stone arches. It was crowded with houses, shops, and even a chapel, all packed together, leaning against one another in a chaotic, teetering marvel of engineering. It was the city's pride, and it was a failure. From the moment it was built, the bridge was dying. The river, this hungry god, was constantly trying to shrug it off. Its powerful tides would eat away at the foundations. Winter ice would smash against its pillars. Fires would sweep through the wooden shops and houses, leaving charred, skeletal remains. The song we know is not a metaphor. It is a simple, frustrating truth. London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. Now, let us imagine a man. He is not a king or a priest. He is a man of logic, a man of science. He is the master builder, and the bridge is his responsibility. He is a man who believes in the power of stone and measurement, of physics and design, and the bridge is his personal enemy. It is his constant, humiliating failure. For years, he has tried to fix it. He has followed the wisdom of the rhyme, the logic of his craft. Build it up with wood and clay. He tries. He brings in massive timbers and tons of packed clay to reinforce a crumbling arch. But the river is patient. The relentless water washes the clay away, particle by particle. The wood, constantly damp, begins to rot. A few years pass, and a section of the bridge collapses into the churning water below. The city leaders are angry. The merchants are losing money. The people are afraid. They demand he fix it. So the master builder tries again. Build it up with bricks and mortar. This time, he will use stronger materials. He builds with the best stone, the finest bricks, a mortar mixed to his own secret, stronger recipe. The work is hard and it is expensive, but the new section is strong. He looks at his work with pride. This, he thinks, will last. But the river is a god of immense strength. A great flood comes, a surge of water that pushes against his new pillars with a force that seems alive, intelligent, and full of malice. He watches from the riverbank as his strong bricks and mortar groan, crack, and then crumble, washing away as if they were made of sand. The master builder is now a man in despair. His science has failed him. His logic has failed him. The river is laughing at him. He feels the cold grip of a new kind of fear. A fear that he is not fighting against stone and water. He is fighting against a curse. One evening, he is standing on the riverbank, staring at the latest ruin of his work. His heart, a cold, heavy stone in his chest. An old woman approaches him. She is bent and wrinkled, her eyes as dark and as deep as the river water itself. She looks at the broken bridge, and then she looks at the master builder. "It will not stand," she says, her voice a dry, rasping whisper. "You feed it stone, but it is hungry for something else." The master builder, in his frustration, scoffs at her. "What are you talking about, old woman? It is a problem of engineering, not hunger." The old woman gives a slow, knowing smile, a smile with no warmth in it. "You are a man of the new gods, the god of the cross," she whispers. "You have forgotten the old ways. You have forgotten the old gods. The river is an old god. It does not want your bridge. It will not allow you to cross it for free. It demands a price. It demands a sacrifice." The master builder stares at her. a chill running down his spine that has nothing to do with the evening air. The woman's words feel ancient, forbidden. She leans closer, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial hiss. "To make a great thing last," she says, "you must give it a soul. You must give it a guardian, a spirit to hold the stones together when the river pushes, a spirit to watch over it, forever." "A spirit?" the master builder asks, his voice barely a whisper. "How?" The old woman's dark eyes gleam in the twilight. "You must set a watchman," she says, "but not a living watchman who will fall asleep at his post. You must build the watchman into the bridge itself. You must seal a life inside the stone, a foundation of flesh and bone. Only then will the river be satisfied. Only then will your bridge stand." She speaks of immurement, foundation sacrifice, a dark, pagan ritual from a time before memory, a time of blood and magic. The master builder, a man of the modern world, a man of logic, feels a wave of revulsion. It is a monstrous idea, the talk of a madwoman. He turns to tell her to leave, to take her dark fantasies with her. But she is gone. She has vanished as if she were never there, leaving him alone on the riverbank with her terrible, poisonous words echoing in his mind. He tries to dismiss it. It is superstition, it is madness. But as he looks at his broken bridge, at the ruins of his failed science, a new and terrifying thought begins to take root in his heart. What if she is right? What if the only way to conquer the river is not with stone, but with a soul? The man of logic is now at war with himself, his mind a battleground between reason and a terrifying ancient fear. And he knows, with a sinking feeling of dread, that reason is losing. The master builder returns to the city, but he is a changed man. The war inside his mind is over. The voice of reason, of science, of his own modern God, has fallen silent. The whisper of the old woman, the voice of the ancient, hungry river, is now the only voice he hears. He has made his decision. He has accepted the terrible bargain. His bridge needs a soul, and he, its creator, must be the one to find it. He is no longer a man of blueprints and measurements. He is now a hunter, and he walks the dirty, crowded streets of London with a new and terrible purpose in his eyes. He is not looking for the strongest stone or the finest timber. He is looking for a life. His hunt is a quiet and patient one. He knows what he needs. A sacrifice, to be powerful, must be innocent. It must be pure. And, for the dark bargain to work, it must be a life that will not be missed. A life that can vanish from the world without leaving a hole too large, a cry too loud. He needs an orphan. For days, he wanders the poorest parts of the city, the docks where the fatherless children run in packs, their faces dirty, their laughter loud, their hunger a constant, sharp pain in their bellies. He watches them. He sees their toughness, their suspicion. These children have been raised on the hardness of the street. They are not easy prey. They would not trust a kind word from a stranger. And then, one afternoon, he hears it. A sound that cuts through the noise of the docks, the shouting of the sailors, the cry of the gulls. It is a song, a boy's voice, clear and beautiful, and full of a sadness so profound it makes the master builder's own hardened heart ache. He follows the sound and finds him sitting on the edge of a wooden pier, his small, bare feet dangling just above the dark, swirling water of the Thames. The boy is perhaps 8 years old. He is thin. His clothes are rags, but he has a shock of bright red hair that seems to defy the greyness of the city around him. Let us call him Finn. He is singing a simple folk song about a ship that sails away and never returns. And as he sings, he does not know that he is singing a song about himself. The master builder watches him from a distance. He sees the loneliness in the boy's eyes. He sees that he is alone, that he belongs to no one. And he hears the impossible beauty of his voice. A perfect soul, he thinks, for a perfect guardian. He has found him. He has found the price for his bridge. He does not approach the boy that day. The hunter is patient. He learns the boy's routine. He learns that Finn sleeps in the shelter of an overturned boat. He learns that he gets his food by singing for the sailors, who sometimes throw him a crust of bread or a copper coin. He learns that the boy is a small, bright flame of life in a world that has given him nothing, a flame that no one would miss if it were suddenly, silently extinguished. The next day, the master builder begins his work. This is a different kind of construction. He is not building a bridge of stone, but a bridge of trust, and he is a master at his craft. He finds Finn sitting on the same pier, singing his sad song to the river. The master builder approaches him slowly, so as not to startle him. He does not offer money. He offers a simple human kindness. "That is a beautiful song," he says, his voice warm and gentle. "Your voice is a gift." Finn looks up, his eyes wide with surprise. No one has ever spoken to him like this before. The men on the docks are rough and loud. This man is different. He is well dressed, his voice is soft, and his eyes seem kind. Finn gives him a small, shy smile and says nothing. The master builder does not press him. He simply sits near the boy for a while, looking out at the river in a comfortable silence. Before he leaves, he places a small, warm meat pie on the pier beside the boy. He says, "For the song," and then he walks away. Finn watches him go, his heart filled with a strange mixture of suspicion and wonder. He waits until the man is gone, and then he devours the pie. It is the best thing he has ever tasted. The next day, the master builder returns, and the next. This becomes their ritual. He will sit with Finn, and he will listen to him sing. Sometimes he brings him food. Sometimes he brings him a small, carved toy, a wooden bird, a tiny boat. He asks Finn about his life, and he listens with a gentle, patient attention. He tells Finn that a boy with such a voice should not be living on the streets. He tells him that he sees a great future for him. And slowly, day by day, he builds his bridge of trust. He lays each stone of kindness with a perfect, chilling precision. Finn, who has never known a father, who has never known anything but the harshness of the world, begins to open up like a flower to the sun. He begins to trust this kind, quiet man. He begins to see him as a friend, a protector. He no longer sings his sad songs. He sings happy songs, because for the first time in his life, he is not completely alone. The master builder listens, and he smiles his warm, gentle smile. But in his mind, he is not listening to a child's song. He is listening to the future guardian of his bridge. He is looking at the keystone, the final, perfect piece of his great work. And he knows that the time is almost right. One evening, as the sun sets over the river, painting the sky in colors of orange and red, the master builder turns to Finn. His face is serious, but his eyes are kind. "Finn," he says, "I have been watching you. You are a good boy, a strong boy, and I have a special job for you, a secret mission. It is a game of sorts, for the great new bridge I am building." Finn's eyes grow wide with excitement. A job? A secret mission from his new powerful friend. "The bridge needs a guardian," the master builder continues, his voice a low, confidential whisper. "It needs a lucky spirit to be the very first to be placed inside it, to bring it good fortune for 1,000 years. It is the most important job in all of London, and I have chosen you. He tells Finn that if he can play this game, if he can be the lucky spirit of the bridge, he will be rewarded with a fortune. A bag of silver coins, enough to buy a warm coat for the winter, enough to buy food for an entire year. And, he says, after the game is done, he will take Finn on as his own apprentice. He will give him a home, a future. To Finn, a boy who has never had anything, it is a promise of everything. A home, a future, a bag of silver coins. It is more than he has ever dared to dream of. Yes, he says, his voice full of a pure, absolute joy. Yes, I will do it. I will be the lucky spirit of the bridge. The master builder smiles, a smile that does not reach his eyes. He tells Finn to meet him at the construction site the next morning, just as the sun is rising. He tells him to tell no one. It is their secret. Finn promises. He is so excited he can barely contain himself. He watches his friend walk away, and his heart is filled with a love and a gratitude so profound it feels like it will burst. He does not see the look on the master builder's face as he turns away. He does not see the flicker of something cold and hard in the man's kind eyes. He does not know that he has just agreed to his own burial. He does not know that the warm hand he has just shaken belongs to his own executioner. He only knows that his life is about to begin. He has no idea that it is about to end. Finn does not sleep that night. He lies awake in his cold shelter by the river, his heart a frantic, joyful drum in his chest. A home, a future, a bag of silver coins. The words of the master builder echo in his mind, a magical song that has pushed away the familiar, nagging ache of hunger. He is no longer Finn the orphan, the boy who sings for scraps. He is to be the lucky spirit of the great London Bridge, a guardian. Before the first hint of dawn has touched the sky, he is already up, his face scrubbed clean with river water, his ragged clothes straightened as best they can be. He runs through the dark, sleeping streets of the city, his bare feet silent on the cold cobblestones. The city feels different this morning. It feels like his city. He is its secret keeper, its guardian spirit. He arrives at the vast construction site of the bridge. It is a world of giants. Huge piles of stone, towering wooden scaffolds, and deep, dark pits that seem to fall into the very center of the earth. In the pre-dawn gloom, it is an intimidating and magical place. He sees a single lantern burning near the base of one of the massive new stone piers. It is the master builder waiting for him, just as he had promised. The man's kind smile warms the chill morning air. "You are here, Finn," he says, his voice a low, pleased whisper. "I knew you were a brave boy. Are you ready to play the game? Are you ready to be our lucky watchman?" Finn nods, his eyes wide with excitement, unable to speak. "Good," the master builder says, placing a heavy, reassuring hand on the boy's small shoulder. "Follow me. We must not be seen. This is our secret." He leads Finn down a series of wooden ramps, deeper and deeper, into the foundation of the bridge. The air grows cold and damp, smelling of wet stone and the muddy riverbed. Finn looks up at the towering stone walls around him, a man-made canyon that seems to swallow the sky. He has never been in a place of such immense power. They come to the base of one of the great piers, a mountain of solid stone. In it, there is a small, dark opening, an alcove no bigger than a cupboard. "This," the master builder says, his voice full of a strange reverence, "is the heart of the bridge. And this will be your hiding place. You are the first stone, Finn, the lucky stone. Your job is to go inside, be very still, and keep watch. You must be silent until I come back for you. Can you do that? Can you be the secret guardian of London Bridge?" Finn, his heart swelling with pride, nods eagerly. This is the game. This is his mission. He crawls into the small, dark space. It is not frightening. It is exciting. It is his secret fort, the most important place in the whole world. He sits down, hugs his knees to his chest, and gives the master builder a final trusting smile. "I am ready," he whispers. The master builder looks at him for a long moment, and in his eyes, for just a second, Finn sees a flicker of something he has never seen before. A flicker of pain, of regret. But it is gone as quickly as it came, replaced by the familiar, kind smile. "Good boy," the man says, and then he turns away. Finn hears the sound of footsteps, and then the quiet, scraping sound of men at work. He smiles to himself in the darkness. The game has begun. He hears a heavy thud as a stone is laid in place, and then the wet, sticky sound of mortar being spread. He watches as the opening of his secret hiding place begins to get smaller. A large grey stone slides into view, blocking out a piece of the grey morning sky. Then another. This is part of the game, he thinks. They are making his hiding place even more secret. The opening is now the size of a small window. He can see the master builder's face as he directs the masons. Finn gives a small wave, but the man does not seem to see him. The scraping and the thudding continues. Stone after stone. The patch of sky is now the size of his hand, then the size of a coin. He feels the first, tiny prickle of fear. It is getting very dark. "Master Builder," he calls out, his voice still a playful whisper. "The game is getting very dark now." There is no reply. Only the sound of the scraping and another heavy thud. The last sliver of light disappears. He is now in complete and total blackness. The air immediately feels heavy and stale. He can taste the dust of the stone in his mouth. His heart begins to beat faster. "Master Builder," he calls again, his voice a little louder now, a little tremor of fear in it. "Is the game over? Can I have my coin now?" Silence. Only the sound of another stone being set. A final dull thud that seems to shake the very air around him. And then, a new sound. The sound of the masons' footsteps walking away. The sound of their voices fading into the distance. He is alone. He is alone, in the pitch black, in the cold heart of the bridge. And the game, he realizes, with a wave of sickening ice-cold terror, is not a game at all. "Hello!" he screams, his voice small and thin against the immense weight of the stone. "Let me out, please! I don't want to play anymore!" He pushes against the new wall in front of him, but it is solid, unmoving. He bangs his small fists against the stone until they are raw and bleeding. The sound a dull, pathetic drumming that no one will ever hear. He screams until his throat is raw, a long, ragged, tearing sound of a terrified animal caught in a trap. He screams for the master builder, his friend, the man who brought him pies and toys. He screams for anyone, but the only reply is the deep, muffled rumble of the river flowing past his stone tomb. The air grows thin. It is hard to breathe. He curls himself into a small ball on the cold, damp floor. He is no longer screaming. He is sobbing, a quiet, hopeless sound in the endless dark. He is the lucky guardian. He is the watchman who will keep watch all night. And his first watch, he now understands, will be his last. It will be an eternal watch in a darkness that will never end. Up above, in the world of the living, the sun has risen. The master builder looks at the new pillar of his bridge. The stone is strong, the foundation is set, and he knows, with a grim and terrible certainty, that this time his bridge will finally stand. And so, our stories are over. The fire has burned low, and the woods around us are quiet once more. We leave the ghosts of the past where we found them, in the plague-ridden streets of London, in the bloody garden of a vengeful queen, and in the cold, dark stone of a cursed bridge. We have taken these simple songs, these first poems of our childhood, and held them up to a darker light. And we have found they are not simple at all. They are scars. They are the folk memories of our ancestors, a way to process a world filled with horrors we can barely comprehend. A world where an invisible sickness could erase a family, where a queen's faith could become a license for torture, and where the very foundations of society could demand a terrible, unspeakable price. The nursery, it seems, has always been a haunted place. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the darkness. As a small channel, every single like and subscription makes a huge difference and allows us to continue making these stories. And now we ask you, why do you believe these stories have survived? Are these rhymes a deliberate warning, coded messages passed down to ensure we never forget the horrors of the past? Or are they simply a morbid curiosity, the human mind's strange way of taming terror by turning it into a children's game? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. It is always a privilege to explore these stories with you from around the world.